running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up?
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for tuning in to my challenge, my story of my strength. It's day 17. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a challenge began as a gift to myself, a commitment to speak my truth every single day for 365 days straight. But it quickly became something more. It became a way to show every survivor who's still silent, who's still suffering, and who's still unsure of what healing looks like, that healing is really, really messy. It's raw, it's hard, but it is also very possible. It's real, healing is real, and it's worth fighting for. But no, it's not easy. And these stories, they are raw, but they are mine. They are mine, and I will share them with you. I'm going to share them with you to remind you that you're not alone in healing, and that no matter how hard healing is, silence is harder. So today's trigger warning is going to discuss episode of childhood homelessness, sexual assault, and emotional trauma. Please take care of yourself while listening. Pause if necessary, and walk away if it becomes too heavy, because your safety is always first. Today, I'm going to talk about a time when I was homeless. One of the times that I was homeless, I was about 15 years old, and what I had to do to survive as a child on the streets. I was kind of living wherever I could, bouncing from house to house to house, and sometimes that meant bouncing between friends' homes. And I landed with a friend whose mother, there were really no adults in their home. She was more like my god sister. We got really, really close. I've been knowing them. We knew each other from childhood into adulthood. And their mom, she was known to be gone all the time. And she was there, she really didn't question me being there. So it was easier for me to stay there longer than usual. But it came at a cost, because at the time, their house, they kind of kept guys in their house, men, boys. There was always guys coming in and out of the house all the time, because they weren't supervised, and they were able to do what they wanted to do. And, so that's what they wanted to do. And that wasn't safe for someone like me. I've been attacked sexually at this point multiple times, and I was just like, ugh. So I didn't want to be sexually assaulted again. I just wanted to find somewhere where I could have some peace and feel safe. So sometimes I'd leave, I'd sleep outside or hide in a dark space to avoid being touched by anybody, So I would do whatever I could. But one of the girls in the house, one of the sisters, she was 18, and at the time they were living in a hotel on a street in our town where there's known to be a lot of drug violence, but the hotels are really cheap, and a lot of people who are homeless, they kind of live on the street. I mean, if you know me and you're from where I'm from, you know the street that I'm talking about. And they were at the hotel. She ended up getting her own room because she had a daughter. She wanted to have space for her and her daughter. She had a little boyfriend that she was dating, or an older boyfriend that she was dating, who was almost 30 years old. And he was, really not that aggressive. So, I convinced myself that he was more of a safer person than in the other room where, they always had all the guys. That's what the other room, the main room where the mom lived, and that's where all of this partying and everything was at. And it wasn't like drinking and alcohol, just a bunch of guys sitting around, maybe smoking a little weed here and there, but nothing out of control, aside from just being in a room full of men who don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. So that day there were too many people in the room. So I just kind of got up and went into the sister's room, because I wanted to be by myself. I left the one room and I went next door to the other room so that I can still go back and forth, but I just wanted to be by myself. Y'all see I cut my finger, you guys, don't worry about it. Ghetto rig. And I thought I'd be fine, though. I thought I'd be fine if I just went over there. I laid on the floor, kind of in a little corner, trying to hide so no one would see me when they came in. I thought that hiding low would keep me safe, but I was wrong, because he came in the room. I didn't realize it was him at first. I just heard someone walk in the room, and my sister, that's what I call them, they are my sisters, knew where I was lay at. So usually when she came in, she just did what she needed and left. But that day it was him, and I didn't think he'd seen me, but And I felt like if I stayed still, once I realized it was him, if I stayed still, he would just leave and he wouldn't notice me. But he did notice me, and he didn't leave. He asked me why was I sleeping on the floor. Why didn't I sleep in one of the beds? Because there were two beds in the hotel. One was for the baby and one was for the mom. I said, I'm fine. I'll sleep right here. I'm fine. But then I started to get up because I was trying to leave. I'm like, okay, this isn't right, because it was just me and him in the room. The room was super dark. They had blackout curtains, and she kept the curtains closed so you couldn't see anything in the room. And but by the time I tried to get up to leave, he was already kneeling over me. He was really quiet, and then he just kind of started touching me on my face, touching me on my neck, and I'm like, just stop, just stop. I tried to get up, but he forced me down, and I tried to fight him off. I was trying to fight, push, kicks. He tried to cover my mouth, and I tried to scream. Um, and we were just down there fighting until I got tired. I was tired of always having to fight, to exist, but I had to fight. And I fought until I couldn't anymore. So he raped me on the floor. He was, again, like maybe 28, 29. I was 15. And I just cried. And I just kept saying, no, please stop, over and over again. But he didn't care. He did what he needed to do, and he finished. And then when he was done with me, he was like, okay, now get up and go in there and take a shower. So I did. I washed myself like it, hopefully that it would be erased that it happened. But that shame didn't rinse off. I never told anybody, because by this time we all know when I'm telling people things that happened to me, of course I was the one to be blamed. So I didn't say anything. So the way I felt at that moment, the wound that I felt that moment, that it taught me again that my body wasn't mine. That was just another incident that taught me that my body wasn't mine, and that if I spoke up, uh, I would be blamed. I started to believe that I was invisible, that I was disposable, and like the only thing that I was good for was just being used and just disposed of. I felt like I was contaminated, like I'd been marked by trauma, and no one would ever see anything else when they looked at me with just this broken person. I believe no one would ever truly protect me, and that my voice never really would matter because I had screamed, and it still happened. I internalized that lie that my pain was my fault, and I carried that lie like a weight that was like chained to my soul. And I just accepted the fact that I was just, I was just nothing. So here's my reflection question to you. What lies did you start believing about yourself after someone violated your boundaries or your body? So what lies did you start believing about yourself after someone violated your boundaries or your body? What parts of your truth did you bury to survive? Okay, so these are my reframing and my affirmation. So at that moment, the way my mind was thinking wasn't a reflection of my work. It was a reflection of his violence. The shame that I carried wasn't mine. I carried something that I didn't deserve, and I survived it. And that's something that that really should have destroyed me. That was something that really should have destroyed me. So that makes me powerful. It doesn't make me broken. I had to rewrite that narrative. I started small, one truth at a time. My body is mine. My silence is not consent. My silence is not consent, and my story matters. I used to have to. Those were the things that I had to reframe because of what he did to me, and it wasn't just him. It was not just him. Um, so an affirmation that I will tell myself, and that you guys can use if you need, is what was done to me was never my fault. My strength is not in how I hid it, but in how I rise again and again. Okay, so that is an affirmation that you guys can use if you need to. And now we're going to go with the mini session. Teach you some coping skills. And this coping skill is haven, breathing, and exercise, and anchoring objects. So this is a grounding. I'm sorry, you guys, my allergies are not being fair to me today, so you're going to see me scratching my nose a lot. This is a grounding method that brings your body into a state of safety using a patterned breath and a chosen object that represents peace. So a patterned breathing, 1, 2, 3 in, 1, 2, 3 out type of breathing, and an object. It could be my lip gloss, a pen, whatever, something. It could be a crystal. I don't have any of my crystals right here. Wow. But a crystal or something, anything that represents peace to you. It could be an object. So find a small object near you, like a crystal, a stone, a bracelet, or anything that feels comforting that's in your hand. It could be one of those stress balls, anything that you have that feels comforting in your hand. And then just grab it and hold it tightly in the palm of your hand. Feel the texture, feel the temperature, and feel the weight of this object that you have in your hand. Now I'm going to need you to close your eyes. Close your eyes, breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out slowly for 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With each exhale, you say this silently in your mind. Just quietly say it, or you think it, or whatever you want to call it. I am safe in this moment. I am safe in this moment. So repeat this 5 to 7 times and continue holding on to that object until your breath feels more regulated. Okay, so again, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds. Okay, when you do that 5 to 7 times. Anytime a flashback or an intrusive memory comes in, hold that object again, and your body will associate it with calm and control. Okay, this will act as your anchor because you do deserve to feel grounded and you deserve to feel at peace. So here's a 1 minute challenge for you guys. Okay, think of a moment in your past where you survived something that you shouldn't have or that you shouldn't have had to. Now find a public space outside, a balcony, a sidewalk, wherever you feel comfortable outside, and say this out loud. It's one sentence out loud. I lived through it and I'm still standing. Now you don't have to go to a park or say this in front of a crowd of people. Like I said, you can go to your backyard, anywhere where you feel safe, and say, I lived through it and I'm still standing. Say it out loud. Don't whisper it. Take up space with your story. Even if no one hears you, you will hear yourself, okay? Your voice is your power. So you need to use your power today. This is how you take your power back. Okay? So my survivor spotlight. This is a person who I give a shout out to. Sometimes I use celebrities. Sometimes I use past guests from my podcast, Insights of a Survivor. And sometimes it's just somebody that I've grown to love and I know who has helped me through some things and who I've seen overcome some things. But today I'm going to use a celebrity, Gabrielle Union. A lot of us know who she is, and she is more than an award-winning actress. She's more than a best-selling author. She's more than a producer. She's a survivor whose courage has created a path forward for thousands of others. At just 19 years old, Gabrielle endured a violent sexual assault at gunpoint that changed her life. It was a moment meant to silence her, to fracture her spirit, but instead she rose. For years, Gabrielle lived in the quiet aftermath of trauma, facing fear, shame, and isolation, isolation that so many others carry. But she made the brave decision to share her story publicly, not for attention, but to give language to the unspoken pains to so many Black women that has endured this behind closed doors. And the world often dismisses or blames survivors, especially women of color. Gabrielle refused to stay silent. Her disclosure became a turning point, not just for her own healing, but in the national conversations about survivorhood, justice, and emotional wellness. Gabrielle used her platform to dismantle stigma and advocate for accessible mental health, and she pushed for systematic reforms that protect rather than punish. She reminded the world that Black women's trauma is real, is deserving of attention, and long overdue for compassion. Her memoirs, We're Going to Need More Wine, and You Got Anything Stronger? That's the name of her memoir. It goes beyond celebrity stories. They are bold declarations of honesty, grief, growth, and unshakable resilience. Gabrielle has become a fierce mental health advocate, a champion for sexual assault survivors, and a role model for those learning to live beyond survival. She continues to speak up not just for herself, but for those who are still finding her voice. Gabrielle Union took most of the devastating moments of her life and she transformed it into a bridge for others. Her story reminds us that the most powerful kind of strength in the world is the kind that shows up trembling and that speaks anyway. She refused to let survivors be invisible. She refused to let shame win. She refused to allow silence to be the final chapter. Gabrielle models what it means to reclaim your body, your voice, and your truth. She is the blueprint for what it looks like to survive, to thrive, and to lead with empathy and fire. Through every speech, every story, and act of advocacy, she reaches into the darkness of survivors and where survivors often sit, and she turns that into light. So we honor you. We honor you, Miss Gabrielle Union, and thank you for standing in your truth with boldness, grace, vulnerability. Thank you for refusing to be silent in a world that asked you to shrink. Thank you for using your voice to heal others, for teaching us that survival is not the end of the story, and that joy, love, and justice are possible even after the unimaginable. You are not just a survivor, you are a warrior, you are a guide, and we see you, we honor you, and we thank you so much. Okay, you guys, this story kind of hurt me to share, but I didn't share for sympathy. I didn't. I shared it someone so that someone could use it to stop blaming themselves. If you've ever been made to feel unsafe in your own body, in your own skin, I see you. I see you. This space is for you. So if today's story moved you, please share it with someone else who might need to hear it. Leave a comment if you've ever felt silence. And subscribe to my channel if you want to keep being uplifted with stories that are meant to inspire instead of tear down, and help you understand that you're not alone in this healing journey. And know that this is the safe space for you to speak, because your story does not end in pain. It begins in power. I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 18. I love you all so much, so much. Stay strong.
Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up? I know the journey got hard for a minute, but I ain't giving this up. Yeah, I got the heart of a champion. If I get knocked down, I get